This is Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Television. My name is Joshua Ishai. I welcome you to yet another fresh edition of the program Aqua Farming. Aqua Farming is a program that tells you all you need to do in the water, or rather all you need to know that is in the water that is quite profitable to make money out of it, or thereabout have a hobby when it comes to you going into agriculture. And today happens to be quite amazing. Why? If you check the background, you know already we left the studio to come into the farm where the whole things we do discuss in the studio to bring it to you practically so you can get to watch. And today, as usual, we have my regular guest talking about Gabriel Wase, but this time around Gabriel is not in the studio. We are on his farm, so he's going to tell us more you need to know about aquaculture. And today the topic will be discussed. We'll be looking at fish production technology. Yes, fish production technology is one particular aspect that has really metamorphosed from the normal conventional way of going into aquaculture into using the modern means or technological aspects so you can go into farming. Mr. Gabriel, it's good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, let's start from my introduction. Of course, we talked about the importance why everyone needs to adopt the technology because everything is moving on a jet space now, and it's no longer in news that every sector has metamorphosed into a technological aspect. Now, can you briefly explain fish production technology, what it really means to the layman?
Yeah, first of all, I must say that each time the term technology is mentioned, so many persons are looking at something outside the box, trying to see complex machineries and processes in place. However, it is not always the case. Why that applies? In fish farming, technology generally is referred to as the application of scientific principles to practical purposes to get results, and such applications must be reproducible. So in fish farming too, we apply technology not in all sense of its complexity, but also on lighter notes. And generally in fish farming, there are different forms of technology that are being adapted, both modern and not modern. Generally, as we can see here, what we practice is what we call the land-based aquaculture system, which also is a form of technology in fish farming. We also have what we call the recirculatory aquaculture systems, which we don't presently have here on the farm. We also have what we call the water-based aquaculture systems. So all of these put together is what is being classified and discussed under technological systems in aqua farming. Now let's begin with what we have on ground here, which is the land-based. When we talk about the land-based farming system, we are referring to such systems as in earthen ponds, in concrete ponds, tarpaulin as you can see over there, the plastic tanks, the wooden tanks, and so many other structures that can be manipulated to hold water and farm fish. This is what is termed land-based aquaculture systems. We also have what is known as the recirculatory aquaculture system, which is a system that is adapt the use of hyper technology. And in recirculatory aquaculture systems, the systems are designed basically for water economy and efficiency. While the cost of installations and maintenance are quite high, also the turnover per unit investment is also very high, and also reduces the human labor and stress involved in the manual aspect of farming. The systems are designed to use water, purify and reuse, making it easier for both the operational staff and also the fish that is being cultured, because the water quality is always maintained at good and recommendable, it falls within the required, the needed requirements. Therefore, the system is much easier to manage, though it is very expensive. We also have what we call the water-based aquaculture systems. These systems are not very common within a locality because they are usually adapted in areas where there are large water bodies. So where you have a large water body, you don't have to go into making use of resources to construct ponds, all you need to do is just you make your cages, you make your pens, and then you fix them or you allow them to float in the water body. So what you do is just to supply feed to them. However, the disadvantage this system may have is that the farmer does not have absolute control over the water quality because it's a large body of water. So if there happens to be any form of pollution upstream, it is going to affect your fish, and if it is fertile, you might be compelled to harvest at a time that you have not prepared to do so. However, this system allows the farmer to utilize existing water bodies, saving him cost of construction. So these are the most common systems in farming that are in use today. But additionally too, in our own inland-based systems, there are also some application of technology. For instance, when you talk about feeding of fish, usually it's manual today. Most farms we do manual feeding, same as I do here too. So you can see there are invented machines that can ease the stress of feeding. You know, the disadvantage we have or farmers suffer from this manual feeding is that during bad weather conditions, you might find it difficult to feed. For instance, yesterday evening there was rain all through. So the rain can affect you. You can't go out into the rain to feed your fish. So you discover that it's a disadvantage. But if you adapt the use of auto feeder, there's something we call auto feeders, there's another that we call the demand feeders. So the auto feeding machine is a machine that is designed to dispense a particular volume of feed into the pond at designated periods. Let's say you designed your machine and it's programmed to dispense feed every 4 hours or every 3 hours, a particular quantity, because of course you know the quantity of feed that should be supplied to your pond at intervals, because you should carry out what you call, you know, weighing of your fish either on weekly basis or bi-weekly, so that you can calculate the quantity of feed to be administered. So once you know the quantity, you can program this machine to dispense say 5 kg, 10 kg, 100 kg 3 times a day or twice in a day. So in that case, whether the weather is good or bad, the machine responds and your fish have food to eat. Then we have what we call the demand feeders as well. The demand feeder is a machine that is designed in a way that fish will have to trigger the sensor for feed to be released into the water. So it has a trigger that is inserted into the water, and once the fish plays around and touches that trigger, it releases feed. So the fish gets used to the system that, oh, once I touch here, there is feed for me to take, and they begin to do that. So these are some of the inventions that have eased human labor, have reduced human stress, and have promoted efficiency and productivity in fish farming today. And we encourage farmers to try to adapt to technology to advance in their productivity.
Now, there is this issue of fabricating all of these things. Nigerians have come to say, come on, we can be able to fabricate some of these things. And literally, I can tell you that most of the things that are used for fish farming are locally fabricated to a large extent. Can all of this innovation you talk about, have they been able to fabricate them here in Nigeria, or how can this be manipulated so that we can be able to have a local aspect of it?
Yes, so far the manipulations are ongoing, and the process is continuous because, you know, technology evolves. So as we continue to make new inventions, our local fabricators are also not sleeping. Like in the areas of feed formulating machines, there are so many persons that are into this today. Instead of having to go for the foreign made machines, like our dryers, pelleters, which even though at present what we have is what produces the sinking pellets, but I believe that with time we shall get it right. So there are many persons, companies that are into the fabrication of these locally made machineries today that are we are using into the fish farming. Recently there is one that we fabricated in Jos, and it will surprise you that it was a professor from IMSU that did the fabrication. You know, there's this popular belief that lecturers or those in academics are not into practice. But however, this is a professor that fabricated this machine right in my presence, a dryer, and it's working effectively. So these things are ongoing, and I think we don't have to rely solely on what comes from the outside world, because right within here we have them with us, and they are being useful, and they are proven to be effective.
This is Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Television, and of course it's the program Aqua Farming. Let's go for a quick break. When we return, the program continues.
The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria (ARCN) coordinates the activities of research institutes and is responsible for supervision, regulation, coordination of research activities and programs of higher institutions in Nigeria. And Professor Hamidu Shaributu, since assumption as Executive Secretary of ARCN in April 2020, has solidified the transformation of agriculture in Nigeria through strategic and meaningful execution of research findings for improvement of the agricultural sector.
For grains, we have the parabolic solar dryers. These are specialized solar dryers used for drying agricultural produce such as whole grains, yam and cassava chips, fruits and vegetables more efficiently. It is made of a special material that concentrates the rays of the sun within the enclosure while eliminating harmful ultraviolet radiation. Products dried are free from contaminants and are hygienic.
The parabolic shaped solar dryer is a need-based technology, because virtually when we travel all over the country, you will see by the roadside, you see people drying all sorts of agricultural produce. Some spread their own on bare ground, and by the time the vehicles are moving, the raised dust, the dust stay on the products. The reptiles will come, they will eat whatever they can eat, drop their feces and their urine on it, and the owner comes in the evening to pack everything together and still eat that product, and the product has been contaminated, and we feel this is not right, and it is part of our mandate to make sure that we set it right, and that was what led to this, so that we can solve this problem at the grassroots level. Instead of drying by the roadside, drying on just bare ground in their villages, when they have this as a drying center, everybody in the community can bring their product there, spread on the tray, and they get it dry under hygienic condition that is covered. And the dryer also have another property to screen the ultraviolet ray of the sun, which is also can cause hazard to human health.
Since then, Professor Shaributu has operated as visionary captain by restoring the council's glory with the first ever agricultural television and radio station in Nigeria, with well-equipped studios parading state-of-the-art equipment.
The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria also has a brand new electronic library to further promote research and visualizations of deep thoughts on agricultural development in Nigeria.
The museum, located in the Senator Abdullahi Adamu Center, is an agricultural museum saddled with the responsibility of keeping records of agricultural findings, discoveries, researches for continuity and history purposes.
The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria is wearing a new look under the stewardship of Professor Garba Hamidu Shaributu, who says, "Alone, I am nothing, but together, I am something." ARCN,
promoting agriculture.
Come back from that break. It's still your first agricultural TV station, and the program is Aqua Farming, where we're discussing fish production technology, where none other but Mr. Gabriel Wase, a fish expert, has really been expatiating all we need to know about it. It's quite interesting to know that we can actually adopt technology that is going to ease the stress when it comes to fish farming. That is to say, if you're finding it difficult to be able to have the prerequisite manpower to be able to carry out your farm. But anyways, before we went on that break, you talk about fabrication, which I believe it's another aspect that people really need to look at. Now, the question is, can adoption of technology help revert fish importation? You know, we have this issue of importing almost 80% of the fish we feed in Nigeria, the tunas, so can this technology be able to help us? Okay, say we can be able to embark on this fish with the imports to have them in thousands, and then can this revert it?
Well, technology is one aspect that can help us attain self-sufficiency in fish production, but not the sole factor. Of course, today, like I've mentioned, there are so many companies within Nigeria that are into fabrication of these machines that we require, but they don't do that for free. So you see that these factors are interconnected. So while you talk of technology, you talk of finance. And also, apart from that, you also have to talk about the efficiency on the part of the operators, because you know there are so many persons who are into farming today because they have seen that just as an option, maybe a plan for retirement, maybe they, just for so many reasons. So when you go into a business that you are not so familiar with, what you need to do is to ensure that you have capable hands that can put you through or even manage these businesses for you. So technology is quite important in achieving success in farming. But even with the technology, for instance, let's say that you are able to install for yourself or for your farm a recirculatory aquaculture system, which is quite easy to manage and gives best results because the water quality is constantly being monitored. But yet, if you don't manage them well, you can't get it right, because you have to feed your fish with good feed that can be able to have a good feed conversion ratio. So efficiency on the part of the staff, then the financial backup with technology are some of those factors that can enable us be able to produce what we eat and eat what we produce. So in so doing, I think the issue of importation of fish will not have to stay. And of course, I feel that Nigeria should not be importing fish because of the number of farms that we have. But most of the farms, when you go, they are operating on skeletal basis. And the reasons for such operations is just because of lack of financial backup. So if there are financial, the financial institutions can make it easy for farmers to be able to access financial services to promote or expand their fish farming businesses. I think in no distant time, Nigeria will become an exporter but not an importer of fish anymore.
Well, still talking about technology and innovations, do you think these innovations is going to affect human labor? Now talking about employment. Of course, you know that the fish industry has actually created employment for thousands and millions of people. So now, if we decide to go into technology, like we're having some other banks now going obsolete, because banking now really don't need a structure. You can go online to do banking, and then the banking sector is facing that issue of cutting down manpower, the POSs and the rest. So will this also result to reducing the number of manpower, and then how will this affect?
Yes, technology has come to bring improved performance, but not to displace or replace human labor. Of course, why there are certain things that we apply technology in. Do you remember when we started, I told you that the adoption of technology does not only entail the use of high or super complex machineries, but also the application of scientific principles to achieve results on practical basis. So the adoption of technology in fish farming is not 100% because human labor is equally needed. There are aspects of the farm that humans have to participate. There is also another aspect that the machines can also participate. So it is not replacing human labor, but rather complementing and bringing efficiency. Remember, like I've said, let's take for instance for the land-based systems that are commonly practiced within our locality. You know, you want to make use of a flow-through system. You need a human being to monitor the system. And even if you are making use of, say, a recirculatory system, you require human power to monitor the system, because of course there has to be power for this system to run, and the human labor is component is involved. So it is not completely replacing human labor, but it's rather complementing for higher efficiency.
Now, there is this issue of, going into agriculture, fish farming as a group or as an individual. You know, a lot of people have said for a fish pond to survive, we need more hands on deck so we can be able to work. Why some say, come on, being individual is the best. What's the best way to actually go into this?
The truth of the matter is that
and the rest, yes.
you know, fish farming is capital intensive. Why there is high return? Where there are high returns, there is also the need for investment. You know, when you don't put in much, chances of you getting much are also very low. So, but you can only have much when you come together. So partnerships are also a very good way of supporting especially startups. For those who are financially buoyant, who may wish to operate as individuals, they are free to do so, and it's not bad. But for beginners, for those who are yet to find their footing in the business, partnership is an option, because it helps you to pull your resources together and get those machines that otherwise you may not be able to acquire as an individual. So partnership is something that should be welcomed, especially for beginners. And it's going to also promote and help, because with time, all of you are still going to separate, you know, at some point based on your agreements, and you become independent. Because I can see that a lot of Nigerians prefer to be independent. They don't want to be under, but I've seen so many persons who operate under partnership, and today they are also independent. Where we are standing today, we are into partnership, myself with my principal partner, to operate this business. So partnership is something that should be embraced by farmers.
Do you think probably whoever is watching now wants to go into day-to-day fish farming? How are you going to ratio the issue of adopting technology, and which aspect do you think technology should be really, is it in the feeding, in the processing, in which aspect of fish production should he invest more in technology? Because I believe there are different phases and aspects to it, where, okay, let me capitalize on this very aspect in technology, and then is it the preservation aspect? What aspect should you really capitalize in the system?
Yeah, technology is very important in all aspects, but I must say that depending on the ability and capability of the investor, emphasis should be placed on security and processing, because these are the areas where human power is most lacking. Because you may not be able to rely absolutely on human security, because they themselves might compromise and fail you. So technology can be of help. And also in processing, you know, like I've always said, fish farmers can do everything possible to make profit, but end up losing out at the end of the day in marketing. So if you are able to install for yourself processing facilities, you have saved yourself of that loss. So I feel that for farmers who are just coming into the business, technology can be adapted at different stages depending on your ability. But if you must have to focus on few areas, security and processing, the rest, manpower can effectively handle them.
On that note, we come to the end of this episode of the program Aqua Farming on your first agricultural TV station in the nation. And of course, we've been discussing with none other but a fish expert and a consultant as well, talking about Gabriel Wase. But of course, Gabriel Wase, before we go, can you probably maybe like share someone who is watching now wants to reach you, maybe an email and even a phone number so they can be able to reach you, please?
Okay, you can always reach us on this phone number 080 60547683. I take the number again, 080 60547683. You can also meet us via our email at famousgreenNurtures@gmail.com. FAMOUSGREENNURTURES@gmail.com.
All right. On that note, again, many thanks for staying through. And make sure you don't touch your dad once it's locked on to Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Television. My name is Joshua Isha, your officials. Bye for now.